this is not how the revolution ends. It's how it begins. And life will be unrecognizable. I think banks, payment rails that you see in Wall Street, from a global investment bank like JP Morgan to SWIFT and Visa and Venmo, these are going to be quaint anachronisms, or they'll be obsolete, like a horse carriage in Central Park. Very quaint way of how we used to do things yesterday.
That was Mark Schwarz from Zap Theory, and he and his partner, Gil Bindelgas, have a firm and very clear understanding about the implications and effects of Bitcoin, blockchain, and tokenization, and what impact it'll have on humanity. They speak very visionary, almost in like futuristic terms. And it's very clear that when they were exposed to crypto, they just got it. In fact, they're not shy about the idea that you should get it too. They have a very firm grasp on money, past, and future. Bill and I are going to spend just a little bit of our future hearing what they have to teach us about it on this episode 12 of So What About Crypto?
So what about crypto?
So what about crypto?
I want to tell you about B Mortgage app. They are going to disrupt the entire mortgage industry with their patent-pending technology, AI, machine learning, and blockchain validation. It makes this little app the world's first end-to-end mortgage solution. Try their new home affordability calculator for free on the Apple App Store or Google Play. It's free and completely anonymous, and you can start the mortgage process right away. Find them at bemortgageapp.com. That's BEE mortgageapp.com. Also, I want to thank Multo Marketing and Productions for sponsoring and producing this show. They handle everything for us. They even wrote and produced the theme music for the podcast. Check them out at multomarketing.com. That's MOLTO marketing.com. All right, let's do this episode. Hi, everyone. So if you've noticed, we have been kind of missing for a couple of weeks.
Where have you been?
Well, I know you have been working on other projects, and so have I. And we're getting, for one of the projects I'm working on, we're getting ready for a very big launch, and we're working with a particular platform that I feel is really just going to blow people's minds. And we are working with this platform together to launch both of us about at the same time. So
you're talking about the Ovis News thing, right?
Yes, Ovis News, full disclosure. It's a pinned tweet on my Twitter account. It's also a pinned story on my LinkedIn. You can read more about Ovis News there. But full disclosure, we are working with the two people who we're about to bring in now on our podcast. They are the creators and brains behind Zap Life and Zap Theory. And I want to introduce you to two of the smartest guys I have been privileged and honored to meet, Mark Schwarz and Gil Bindelgas. They have just been a pleasure to work with. They are just forward thinkers. They are out of the box thinkers. And this is what makes it so exciting to work for them. And I really want people to find out more about their project and what they're doing and how this has the potential to impact all of us. So everybody, please welcome Mark Schwarz and Gil Bindelgas. Hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hey, thank you.
Welcome to the show.
That was quite an introduction. I hope we a lot to live up to there.
Bill and I have been, away for a couple of weeks, both a little distracted. So it's nice to step back into the podcast waters with you guys and get the ball rolling again. So how's it been? You guys we're all a little crazy right now, getting ready for a very big launch.
Yeah, thank you. This weekend, as you know, the Zap Life launch, you guys are playing an integral part of that. And of course, next week, someone told me there's an election. I don't know.
I haven't noticed.
Maybe
it's a local thing, right?
It's just exactly. It's Santa Monica School Board.
Yes.
So yeah, a lot of exciting stuff coming up. But thanks for having us.
Oh, of course. I'm so glad to have you guys here because I really want you to share everything about the platform because I think it's revolutionary and One of my favorite things that Mark always says is the revolution will be tokenized. Am I getting that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mark says that, and that's one of my very favorite things he says, because it just makes so much sense. And when you learn about what's happening in this space, especially with what they're doing, it makes sense.
It does make sense, and it's an exciting time. And, as hopefully we'll discuss with you guys, we think we've created a platform that has unprecedented properties, just properties you don't see when it comes to tokenization. There are a lot of tokenization platforms out there, but we worked hard with our engineers to really structure and engineer this in a way that not only fosters community and promotes all different aspects of a community coming together in a tokenized manner, but it's also compliant. And it's compliant with securities regulations, compliant with, SEC Howey test. And so we think we've just, created something that's pretty special. And we're grateful for the Ovis team, to be a part of it as well.
And zooming out and putting all of this in context, Tim Draper says that blockchain is a revolution with a capital R. And it's going to be bigger than the Iron Age, the Industrial Revolution, the Renaissance, and the Internet put together. And you think of the wheel or the printing press. These were revolutions in technology, but they're called a revolution with a capital R because it permeates and affects and impacts every aspect of life. Economics, politics, social anthropology, our very way of being. And blockchain is positioned to do that in just the next few years. Everything about life is going to be radically different in a way that we can't understand. We lived through it with the internet. So we asked ourselves, well, it's the privilege of a lifetime to eat the popcorn and watch another one of these revolutions happen. We saw it with the internet. What would it be like to be able to contribute a verse to the symphony? And we, had some fun with a really creative team and said, okay, well, let's get to work and build an infrastructure that contributes a verse to this symphony.
So, okay, a couple of things, because I want you guys to understand that, we're geared towards people who are just starting to learn. Hopefully, people who are new to this space and learning about all the products and
concepts,
and the technology, the context and technology behind all of that. So we're hoping we get some new people just starting to learn. First of all, let's explain. I love the way you explain tokenization, Mark, both of you, but I don't know that people grasp how much tokenization is going to play in our lives moving forward. And if this is the first time you're hearing about it, it really, first time I heard about it, I found it mind-blowing, and the possibilities just became endless in my head, thinking, wow, there's so many things that this could affect, like blockchain technology does.
In 2000, what you wanted to start thinking about was going out and starting a website. In 2008, maybe you wanted to start thinking about creating a YouTube channel. 2013, an Instagram page. In about 3 years, folks are going to want to start thinking about tokenizing, whether you're a business, you're a personality, or you're a way of life. So you saw a lot of websites starting to pop up in 2000, 2003 about businesses like Toyota or Dairy Queen, about personalities like, the equivalent of a Kim Kardashian back then, and a lifestyle like surfing. You'd see websites about this. Well, flash forward 10 years, and then you see YouTube channels and Instagram pages dedicated to the same proposition. In about 5 years, whether you're Dairy Queen and Toyota as a business, or you're Kim Kardashian as a personality, or you are surfing and bowling or fishing as a lifestyle, you will tokenize. What does that mean? Before Gil and I dive into what that means, whenever you consider the proposition of someone living in a paradigm being visited by someone from the future, and the personality from the future is explaining what it's going to be like, the poor audience is listening to concepts and vocabulary that they've never experienced. What is it like to go to somebody in 1993 and explain a website or Facebook? Like, listen, you need to create a Facebook page. You're going to get a lot of likes and followers, and it's going to uplift your business, and you can post things on your story. And people say, I don't know what these words mean. I don't know what these concepts are. And blockchain.
And you're crazy.
It sounds crazy.
That's what they would say.
Adam Smith in 1776 writes a book called Wealth of Nations. And in that book, he's introducing a new paradigm called capitalism. Actually, the figure who would come to name it is Karl Marx 75 years later. Smith didn't even have a name for it. And he was replacing the prevailing paradigm of the day called mercantilism, which had been in place for 300 years. And Smith had a lot of problems with mercantilism. If you were to try to go to a mercantilist in the year 1600 or 1700 and explain capitalism or Marx's socialism, a mercantilist wouldn't understand the concepts or the vocabulary. Blockchain has the same challenge. So Gil and I will now try to explain what might tokenization feel like. What might it be like if Toyota were to tokenize, or Kim Kardashian were to tokenize, or journalism or surfing were to tokenize?
Yeah, to tokenize, the closest analog, the closest analogy is probably like a Facebook page. But when someone on a Facebook page, you create a community of surfers, community of, car enthusiasts. Toyota has its Facebook page, but it's very limited on how people can interact with each other. And when they do, the person who benefits is Mark Zuckerberg. In a tokenized community, you create a mechanism where token holders who acquire a token either by buying one, by working for one, by winning one in a contest, whatever means they acquire that token, they have done so by contributing something to the community. And then you're just getting started. Once you possess a token, there's all sorts of experiences you can experience as opposed to if you don't have a token. And in some tokenized communities, you can even have a financial gain because you can earn some kind of revenue if the community is making revenue. And there's just on and on and on. You can form town halls. You have a vote. You have a voice. You have efficacy in how the community is run. You can contribute to the community by making suggestions on how to make it better. And all of these are done only if you have, or they're only permissible if you're a part of the community through possessing a token.
So imagine, you hold in your mind three simultaneous propositions. Think of a business like Toyota. Think of a personality like Kim Kardashian, and think of a lifestyle or a pursuit like surfing or fishing. By tokenizing, there'll be a global, decentralized, permissionless community that forms. And everyone that's a member of that community is making a contribution of either effort or ideas or money to that community. The output is that Toyota is going to make more money. Toyota is going to operate at a higher level, deliver a better car experience. Why? Because folks around the planet who are dedicated to either Toyota specifically or the automotive experience in general are incentivized, as Gil said, to bring their genius, their ideas, or their efforts, or maybe a couple of dollars, and they're going to uplift everything the way Toyota is today to a higher standard. Same with Kim Kardashian. So she might get folks proposing better shoes that she could wear, or a better sort of approach to fashion. Well, today they could do that on Facebook. Number one, the guy making the money off of that social anthropology is Mark Zuckerberg. But number two, there's no real reward for folks who come to Kim with ideas, who come to Toyota with ideas, or who come to surfing with ideas. The reward for doing that in a tokenized construct is the token. Now, the token might have economic value or bring financial gain in two separate ways. One is the token could go up in value over time. As we record today, Bitcoin's flirting with an all-time high. Even more sexy is a second way to enjoy financial gain, which is the possibility that as the community starts to uplift its operation and certainly its revenue, token holders can have a small share of that financial gain. That's the economic dimension of experiencing tokenization as a token holder in a community, as a member of the community devoted to that passion. As Gil observed, there's a second dimension simultaneously besides financial gain. There is efficacy and sort of governance and political, your sort of political animal, the voice you have inside you that wants to express and share perspective. You could do that a little bit on a Facebook page or an Instagram page or a YouTube channel with your comments and the trolling and so forth. But if you're incentivized to bring terrific ideas about the future direction of the community itself, well, you really feel like your voice matters. And you can, as Gil said, you could construct your own town hall. You could structure your own vote. You don't have to wait for someone to structure a vote and you vote on that issue. You could structure your own vote.
Even, I think more profoundly, if you're a member of Kim Kardashian's community, you can structure votes in her community. You don't even have to be in your own community. You can make suggestions for her community. You can structure town halls in her community.
Hey, everybody, what sports bra should Kim wear to the gym today? Red or green, right? Or they have a great idea for the workout she should do. Well, you can't do that on a website. You can't do that on an Instagram or YouTube platform. And if you do voice, Mark Zuckerberg and Google are making the money, and you can't get a meaningful reward if your contribution is offering a measurable, substantive, and fantastic value to Kim's way of being.
Okay, so this is an example or several examples of tokenization. People also may have heard along the way in the news, or at least crypto-centric news, not so much a mainstream media, but there are other ideas for tokenization as well to tokenize luxury items like cars and art and, giving people a chance to invest in these types of luxury items where they would have never had that opportunity before.
Yeah, I mean, one of the global challenges, I think, is that half the world's population, maybe more than half the world's population, not only doesn't have access to a bank account, they don't have access to financial instruments and financial opportunities that we take for granted here in the West. So, like you said, investing in a piece of art or a piece of property. Well, what if you were able to, quote unquote, tokenize those assets, the art or the property, and you could sell micro amounts to anybody around the globe? All they need is a phone. All they need is a cell phone to be able to hold on to these digital assets. And now you've created an opportunity for Risha in India, who makes $3 an hour and would otherwise have no possibility of entering into the financial instruments and kind of financial inclusion. And here she can put a few pennies, a few dollars into something that could increase in value and from which she can get a reward. And not only that, once she has acquired some of those assets, she could use those assets as collateral for a loan. She could use those assets for other dimensions. People can loan her money. She can loan other people money or tokens. That's just where we are now. In 3 to 5 years, as Mark said, there's going to be so many possibilities. And, there's a big trend right now, or a growing trend in blockchain, is called Decentralized Finance, or DeFi. And here's another way of circumventing and disintermediating middle parties like banks who collect tons of fees and giving opportunities to people around the globe who just wouldn't otherwise have opportunities for these type of financial benefits.
So everything you experience on Wall Street today, whether it's equities or debt, bonds, precious metals, commodities, to get access to that, you need a bank account. You need to go to Schwab or TD Waterhouse, and you need to be pre-qualified. As Gil said, that leaves out over half the planet. Half the planet is unbanked, and no bank will do business with them. Imagine that assets, as Elsa observed, are tokenized, so gold or a piece of real estate or a certain stock. Well, now Risha, just with a phone, can buy a micro amount of that asset, and she doesn't have to go through a bank or Schwab. She can just do it in a permissionless way from anywhere on the planet. And now she's in possession of assets that she couldn't otherwise possess. And it works exactly in the reciprocal manner. In this way, Gil and I worked on a project out of Zimbabwe where the endeavor was to tokenize cattle. Now, cattle in Zimbabwe is an ancient, perhaps even primordial form of currency. It's used as funeral rites and dowries in marriage. And the value of that asset, if you will, is locked up until the moment of slaughter of the cow. Well, what if you could tokenize the cow, and folks around the planet can own micro amounts of that cow in the form of tokens by either giving money or giving effort, giving ideas, and the cattle is now unlocked for either the tribe or the shaman, whoever's in possession of whoever got it as a dowry. This is not how the revolution ends, it's how it begins. And life will be unrecognizable. I think banks, payment rails that you see in Wall Street, from a global investment bank like JP Morgan to Swift and Visa and Venmo, these are going to be quaint anachronisms, or they'll be obsolete, like a horse carriage in Central Park. Very quaint way of how we used to do things yesterday.
There are some people, Mark will hold me honest to this, there are some thought leaders in blockchain that say we're going to be seeing the biggest transfer of wealth in human history in the coming years as financial inclusion comes to people around the globe.
Look, I know you guys have seen it, maybe experienced it. You know, we talk about people in other countries like India or countries in Africa, you know, the unbanked people who have no opportunity in the past or didn't have opportunity in the past to participate in the global economy, in their own, you know, local economy in certain ways. But there has been, here in the United States, barriers for Blacks, Latinos, certain groups that haven't had the ability to even think about having access to things like this, to even have enough money to be able to think about buying stocks or investing in a piece of fine art or investing in a piece of real estate. That's just a far off dream for a lot of people who are living to paycheck, or, you know, just don't even see that as a possibility. Now, giving the opportunity for people to buy little bits and pieces, as you say, micro, investments into these types of things allows everyone now to do this to their comfort level and levels the playing field. And so, would you agree that this is where we're going to see the great wealth transfer here, and the paradigm shift, and how people bank and finance and invest and that sort of thing, where, you know, many people see that only as, afforded to the very rich and the insider people.
Yes, man, that's one of the major elements of it. So the Nokia 1000 feature phone is the most mass-produced object in human history. And there are folks in the Amazon basin who are hundreds of miles from electricity, but they have Nokia 1000 phones and a solar panel, and they use it to check the weather. Well, now imagine that they use it to acquire micro amounts of an asset on the other side of the planet. It could be a painting, it could be a piece of land, it could be a stock. And how do they acquire that asset? Well, if they have a couple of, small amount of wealth, they can contribute a micro amount of wealth and own a micro amount of that asset. Or if they have no wealth or no money in a form of, let's say, currency, they can contribute their labor, their ideas, their genius, their efforts, right? Think of somebody who does graphic design, or somebody who just comes up with great ideas. By contributing that to a tokenized community, you get a reward of tokens. Another way in which we're going to experience in just a few years the greatest wealth transfer possibly in human history is an asset that's already out there called Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is about to be 12 years old on Halloween as an idea. It'll be 12 years old on January 3rd of next year as a reality. It is the highest performing asset in human history. It has increased 9 million% in the past 12 years.
That sounds hyperbolic, but it's not. It's
the highest
remarkable
performing asset of 2020.
Anyone can look that up and know you're not, blowing things out of proportion. It's absolutely nuts. And the thing about Bitcoin, I mean, people may be starting to hear little bits and pieces in the mainstream media about it, especially with deals that were recently struck, like with PayPal agreeing to, sell and hold custody Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff. I was actually surprised to see a little 20-second story in one of our local newscasts here about that deal, the PayPal Bitcoin deal. But the same thing with Bitcoin, Mark, in that people can buy tiny little bits of a Bitcoin. They don't have to buy an entire Bitcoin when they see right now, as of this taping, we're somewhere in the 13,000 range per Bitcoin. But you can put down as little as a few dollars and start building that.
If you can't afford to buy it, you can earn it. And
well, not only that,
go ahead.
I've found that I actually spent about an hour on the phone with my mother-in-law a couple of nights ago to try to explain Bitcoin. And when I told her that a Bitcoin was roughly $13,000, because she was interested in buying some, she was like, oh, like she was just deflated. And I was like, but hold on. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. And I think that's where, I think most people we could imagine we would all know about Bitcoin, but they don't even know that fundamental fact that you don't have to own, that there are 100 million increments of that. And we're still trying to, people are still coming around to it, I guess.
If you study the technology of Bitcoin at the level of software code, there actually is no such thing as a Bitcoin. The unit that is in play at the level of software code is something called a Satoshi. And what we understand to be a Bitcoin is divisible to 100 million units. Each of those units is a Satoshi. So there's plenty of Satoshis to go around, even if world population were to multiply by 10 or 100. And you can own micro amounts of Bitcoin in the form of Satoshis. And folks, will come at Bitcoin and say, but it's made out of thin air. Where is it? I can't touch it. I can't see it. I can't hold it. Well, 92% of US dollars are digital. There is no physical analog or instantiation of it.
We use debit cards, credit cards. We transfer funds. We buy things online. We're not actually physically handing over paper money.
Not only is it ones and zeros, but the Fed or the Treasury, depending on which actor is in play at the month, just goes and presses a button and prints millions or billions or now trillions more. I think there's been more dollars printed in just the past few months than in the history of the dollar. The thing about Bitcoin is that can't happen. It cannot happen. Bitcoin its supply is going to be finite. There'll never be more than 21 million ever created. And that won't happen for another 140 years. So far, Bitcoin has created 18 million. There's 3 million to go. 5 million of them have been lost forever, which this is fantastic news because, again, it's divisible to 100 million units. But it's the hardest money ever created in human history. And the word hard can best be understood in terms of money by distinguishing it from its opposite, which is easy money. So easy money is a type of money. We've used all kinds of objects as money in human history. We've used tobacco shells. We've used paper printed by governments. We've used metals. We've used coins. Most of the monies we've used in human history falls into the category of easy money because it's easy to create more of it. Right? If we're using shells, if you look hard enough, you'll find more shells. If we're using dollars, if the government wants to, they can print more dollars. Gold is the hardest money we've ever experienced up to now. And the reason is there's a lot of gold underground, probably more than we can ever want to use, but it's very expensive to get to. It takes a lot of time and a lot of expense to get to it. Even if the price of gold were to multiply by 100, it still has the same time and expense. So the amount of gold that gets spit out, the amount of new gold that gets dug out of the ground every year remains the same every year for thousands of years. The amount of gold that it takes to buy a loaf of bread in the Roman Empire is about the same as the amount of gold it takes to buy a loaf of bread now. That's why gold holds its value as a hard money. Bitcoin's even harder because every 10 minutes only a certain amount of Bitcoin get created, and every 4 years that amount drops by half. Soon there'll be no more Bitcoin created. So it's finite, it's hard, the hardest money ever created. And anyone on the planet with a phone can either buy a micro amount or earn a micro amount, or if they have a lot of labor and a lot of genius and a lot of dollars, they can acquire a lot of Bitcoin.
And what you're seeing now as well, and by now I mean, just in the past 2 months, is major players from Wall Street that once, maybe denigrated Bitcoin or didn't take it very seriously or said it was, a scam or a bubble are coming in. Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategy, a Fortune 500 company, announced recently, and he's been going on all these podcasts. Basically, his full-time job now is just going on podcasts to explain their strategy to buy Bitcoin. And they took all of their cash assets, all their money that was in cash, $425 million, and bought Bitcoin.
That was a few months ago, and now the appreciation of that Bitcoin in just a few months has outperformed the actual revenue of MicroStrategy in the same time.
Yeah, isn't that nuts? I mean, yeah really,
it's
is.
probably 700 million now.
Michael Saylor's sitting pretty. But, he's a classic example of he can't beat him, join him. Because those of us who knew about Bitcoin knew this was going to eventually happen. Everybody else had to take their time to come around.
He dismissed Bitcoin just maybe a year or two ago and thought there's nothing to it and there's no value. It's it's like tulip bulbs in Holland back in the day. J.P. Morgan, same thing. They dismissed Bitcoin. They said it's a fraud, it's a scam, it's tulip bulbs. But what Bitcoin's history is very interesting. In phase one, it was just a couple of nerds playing with an experiment, and this asset, this digital money. We already have digital money with the dollar. This money on the blockchain with all the values and propositions and qualities of blockchain, it's just a couple of nerds. And then a couple of years later, so Bitcoin's inception was 2009. For 2 years, it's just a few nerds playing around with this experiment. Then came the anarchists, the Occupy Wall Street, and they saw what we're talking about today, and they got in. So Bitcoin's value went from 1/16 of a penny to maybe a penny, and their minds were blown that Bitcoin could ever achieve that. Then came another wave of folks. It was the libertarians, and this was maybe, if the first few were a few 100,000 people, it's a few million people now, and Bitcoin's value went up maybe to maybe $1 or $10. Well, over time, Bitcoin's value kept going up because folks kept starting to grasp the technology. Folks who laugh at Bitcoin simply don't understand it. They haven't taken the time to understand the technology, to understand the economics, and to understand how Bitcoin is a new form of money. Michael Saylor's an example at JP Morgan. Once they took the time, Michael Saylor said, the thing about COVID is during a shutdown, you have time to learn. You have time to read things that you wouldn't otherwise learn and read. So he studied the technology at the fundamental level. He studied its economics. And so, as you guys observed, here come the institutional investors, sort of hedge funds, banks, PayPal, Michael Saylor, right, S&P 500s,
Square,
and governments.
Put in 50 million.
An interesting story is several years ago, the government of Bulgaria seized some Bitcoin for allegedly nefarious activity. And then they forgot about it. And a few years later, they checked the hard drive, and the value of the Bitcoin had appreciated to be greater than Bulgaria's national debt. Central banks around the world started paying attention. And there's a high possibility that in the past few years, not just Michael Saylor, right, but central banks of countries around the world have quietly been mining Bitcoin and storing it to be a possible alternative reserve currency instead of the dollar. Since 1944 at Bretton Woods, the US dollar has been the global reserve currency. That's what countries have agreed to. There's a resentment about this. Countries like Iran, Russia, China, a lot of countries don't like this. In 2018, central banks bought more gold than the total amount of gold purchased from 1971 to 2018. In 2019, they bought even more. If it's the case that they're also quietly acquiring Bitcoin by buying it, by mining it, there could be this new Bretton Woods moment where in just a couple of years, a central bank announces that it's no longer using dollars as its reserve. It's using Bitcoin and gold. And then any other central bank that was doing the same by acquiring Bitcoin and gold will make the same announcement. And this is that wealth transfer. We could see the disruption of the dollar, the disruption of Wall Street, the disruption of Visa, all on the same day. Bitcoin is a currency and a payment rail at the same time. That's happened maybe only one time in the history of money. You think of a payment rail like Visa, Venmo, PayPal, or between banks, something like SWIFT. And then you think of the currency that rides on that payment rail, dollars, euros, and yen. Well, Bitcoin is both at the same time. So you don't need SWIFT. You don't need the Bank of International Settlements. You don't need Visa, Venmo, PayPal. You don't need JP Morgan. You don't need Wells Fargo. And you don't need the dollar, the euro,
You don't need the
yen.
middleman.
So this is that wealth transfer. Folks who possess Bitcoin are on the right side of a disruption. Without blockchain and Bitcoin, the economic system, as we know, is probably going to go through one of its 100-year resets. This happens every 100 years where the currencies crap out. The average life of a fiat currency on this planet, government-issued money, is 29 years. And this happens. And look around, COVID accelerated something that was on its way. And Bitcoin could be an alternative global reserve currency, payment system, and store of value for folks. There's 4,000 other cryptocurrencies that each bring their own value proposition. Some of them are scams for sure. A cryptocurrency like Ovis is dedicated to the proposition of journalism 2.0. A Kim Kardashian coin is dedicated to the proposition of celebrating all things Kim and elevating her way of being. A cryptocurrency dedicated to Toyota, same thing for Toyota, more money for Toyota.
And just to expound on one thing Mark was saying with respect to a store of value, if you think of gold as being the most prominent store of value asset class that exists today, and the market capitalization of gold is somewhere around $9 or $10 trillion. On the other side of COVID, closer to 11, market cap of Bitcoin is somewhere around 200 billion. That sounds like a large number, but it's just a fraction of where gold is. So if Bitcoin were to rival gold as a store of value over the next few years, what's now $13,000 a Bitcoin is going to be $300,000 or $400,000.
Now, there are other asset classes that are stores of value. There's derivatives. Global market cap is 640 trillion. There's bonds and debt. Global market cap is 240 trillion. Fiat currency, it's not a store of value, it's a medium of exchange, but about 80 trillion, gold 9 trillion. And there are thought leaders who say Bitcoin in particular and other cryptocurrencies in general are positioned to take chunks of these market capitalizations because folks will not want to possess a bond, they'll want to possess Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency. They won't want to possess a derivative in its old form. They'll want to possess the new form that's tokenized. So you're looking at there's one thought leader who says the average value, that Bitcoin's going to be, its market cap will be 160 trillion, which would position Bitcoin to basically be such that every Bitcoin is going to be worth $10 million. Now, you got to zoom out and put this in context where money is an interesting phenomenon in the human experience, but it's hard to define. In the same way that a theoretical physicist struggles to define gravity or light or electricity, phenomena that we experience every day and we use every day, but we can't define it, even in theoretical physics. Same with money. We can't define it. A PhD in economics would say, I can't define money, but money does have 3 uses and 4 properties. The 3 uses of money are store of value, medium of exchange, or unit of account, sometimes a combination. And the properties of money are fungible, divisible, portable, and scarce. And maybe durable is a 5th property. Well, cryptocurrencies can perform as a store of value, look at Bitcoin, as a medium of exchange, as a unit of account, and they certainly bear the properties of fungibility, portability, divisibility, scarcity, durability. So this is money 2.0. It's store of value 2.0. You take fine art and you tokenize it. Now that's the tokenization of art. And soon we won't be measuring Bitcoin in terms of dollars. We'll be measuring dollars in terms of Bitcoin. And that presupposes that the dollar will even exist. The dollar we use today was not born 200 years ago or 100 years ago. It was born in 1971 when Nixon took the previous dollar off the gold standard. He should have given it a different name, because the dollar in 1970 was backed by gold and the dollar in 1972 was not. There's 2 different monies. The dollar in in 1970 or 1969 was born in 1944 at Bretton Woods, set at $35 per ounce, backed by gold. And before Bretton Woods, there was another dollar. So fiat currencies, they disappear pretty quickly, and that's because governments print so much of it that its value diminishes to zero very quickly. Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, they bear the proposition of lasting hundreds of years or thousands of years, very much like gold.
So I told you guys, Mark and Gil can explain this so well. I personally, I hang on every word when you guys talk about this because it's so inspiring and it's just incredible and mind-blowing what we all have to look forward to. And you guys did a terrific job explaining tokenization and Bitcoin and blockchain and how all these things work. But now let's tie it in because I really want to talk about Zap theory and how you've taken all of this information and all of this technology now and have put it into a form of a product to bring to the public.
Yes, thank you. So when we set out to build Zap theory, we kind of wanted to build like a three-pronged construct. One, much like what we're talking about here, was kind of thought leadership. A second was storytelling, much like what you're doing, to bring out the stories of the different projects. And then the third was to help facilitate and foster tokenized communities to come into existence, like Ovis, like Zap Life, which is a live streaming app. And so through many hours and hours of contemplation and working with our engineers and our software developers, we came up with the Zap theory platform, which allows for communities, whether it's a person, whether it's a passion, whether it's a business, to come and tokenize and create their own instantiation, their own tokenized community on the blockchain.
And a threshold step we took was to define our mission. And we tried to do the Socrates thing, right? The unexamined life is not worth living. We tried to bring some rigor at the philosophical level and the level of mission and purpose. And we looked around. This is going back a few years. And we looked around. You know, Carl Jung says that our greatest problems won't be solved. They have to be outgrown. And Buckminster Fuller says, in order to overcome an existing paradigm, you can't resist it. You got to create a better one. And we looked at the economic construct of the planet, the global economic structure. We looked at the political structure. Look at the election right now. We looked at a lot of things. And we said, our mission is that anyone who experiences our platform will get the introduction of a lifetime. They get to introduce themselves to the best version of themselves. That they get to glimpse and live toward their greatest self, their greatest way of being. They get to self-actualize, and they get to own themselves economically, politically, in the terms of social anthropology, and in terms of something that's hidden under our economic way of life and commerce, and underneath our political way of life and voting and going on rants on Facebook, and underneath our social anthropology of dating or friendships and discourse. Underneath all of that is something hidden, and that's being itself. And it's inspired by a philosopher named Martin Heidegger, who asks the question, what is being? And he asks that question by saying, well, why are there beings at all instead of non-being? On the other side of all this inquiry, we said, well, you know, self-actualized people must be what they can be. So let's create a tokenized construct where in order to possess a token, you must bring your greatest self. And if you do that, either with action or ideas, you will earn a reward of tokens. And that's Zap Theory's mission.
And the page that you're on, Zap Life, it's another project that you mentioned earlier that we're closely involved with. And they took a lot of those concepts. It's a startup founded by, it's a women and minority-owned startup. And with not only wanting to take the experience of live streaming, certainly during a COVID pandemic when people are stuck at home and quarantined and nobody's laughing, nobody's smiling anymore, and make that experience, bring back that experience under these trying circumstances. But they also wanted to uplift the circumstances of the minority communities, of underserved communities, much like you were talking about earlier, Elsa. And by creating this hybrid approach of having, a traditional app that's, you can download at the App Store, download on Google, but also have the ability to acquire tokens and to contribute and participate in the community through the tokenization process. We think they're kind of at the tip of the blade of this new revolution. And it's a revolution on so many fronts. It's a revolution for uplifting certain communities. It's a financial revolution, giving people the opportunity to create financial abundance in ways that they've never been able to do before. It's a revolution in terms of content creation, in terms of allowing anybody who comes to the platform to be both a consumer of content and a creator of content at the same time. And you just don't have that. And it's exciting. And their launch is this weekend on Halloween with the largest virtual Halloween party ever.
In a word, Zap Life is live streaming 2.0. And its inception came by the team looking around at live streaming 1.0, which became very used in COVID. And Zoom and Facebook Live and Instagram Live, and they found problems with it. And they said, well, let's not whine about the problem. Let's not even bring a solution. Let's outgrow the problem, create a better construct. And they said, let's create live streaming 2.0. Live streaming 2.0 has certainly better audio and video quality. It enables anyone watching a live stream as an audience member now to be a content creator within the live stream and to earn money. When you live stream now as a content creator, who makes the money is Mark Zuckerberg on Instagram, YouTube, if you live stream on YouTube.
The platforms that their content is on make the money.
Now, if I go on Zap Life, I'm making that money. And my audience who's watching me, they can earn money as well. This is through, again, tokenization. So Zap Life's first instantiation will be on Halloween as bringing back music and dance, and the nightclubs are closed. The concerts are shut down. No, they're not. If you're a DJ, if you want to put on music, you can come to Zap Life, and instead of Instagram or Zoom or Face or YouTube, you can do it here, make more money, have a much deeper connection with your audience, and they themselves can make money. And then we're going to expand out to education, worship, mosques, synagogues, fitness classes, gaming for sure. So Zap Life looked at the planet this summer and said, it's been a hell of a year. We forgot how to dance. We forgot that the music is still playing. We forgot how to smile. So let's bring that back. Let's let the DJs come and spin, because there's a tremendous resentment among DJs with respect to Instagram and the other platforms. The DJs hate it. They don't want to use it. In fact, they're not using it. So here's this alternative, a greater construct. It's tokenized. And that's not how it ends. That's how it begins, because then you get into education. Even after COVID, and COVID's going to end maybe in a year or two. There'll be no more COVID. Spanish flu took a year and a half to come and go. But on the other side of COVID, we all know that we're not going to go back to the way things were. Classes in school, worship, nightclubs, concerts, there'll still be a streaming element to it that folks never thought to use prior. So yeah, we'll physically congregate, but if you're on the other side of the planet and you want to stream in, terrific possibility. Now it's tokenized on Zap Life.
Yeah, there's still going to be that convergence of the physical and the virtual experience. So, last weekend, Zap Life was doing some of its testing, and there was a party going on, a small get-together. It wasn't a party, but a small get-together on the East Coast with some of our team. And I was sitting here Saturday night in my apartment, and they had a DJ playing. They had a host for the party, and they had people streaming through from across the country, across the globe. And you literally felt you were in the party. Yeah, and it was
I'll share the same experience for me. When I was younger in school, I liked to go out with the fellas and go to the club, and I was a pretty good dancer. It was, good times. We jumped on a virtual nightclub on Zap Life, and I'm telling you, in my greatest authenticity, it was more fun. It doesn't make sense. Like, there's people on a screen, they're dancing around from their living room. Yes. Like, and people actually dress up. They put products in their hair. Like, it's a thing. And it's got all the sort of bells and whistles of, say, like a Candyland or an Instagram. It feels, and Gil was like,
don't tell my mom, but I was doing shots with some young lady across the country. And
is there a velvet rope part of this?
Yes, there actually is.
You create your own VIP.
You can create your own VIP.
And you can make, so if I go to a virtual nightclub on Zap Life, it's not my nightclub. I'm just trying to go in, but I could structure my own VIP in the nightclub and get money for folks to come into my VIP. I could
no waiting for the ladies' room now.
Yeah, right. Which would be very nice.
And in the future, in the not so distant future, we're going to add something else that we haven't really talked about, but we're going to add a concept called non-fungible tokens, NFTs. So prominent DJs, prominent personalities who are creating vibes or experiences on the Zap Life platform.
Or someone creating a VIP.
Will be able to create an NFT to either give to their fans, to sell, to use in any way they want.
And prize in a contest.
Prize in a contest. And as you might know, these are digital forms of collectible, digital memorabilia.
On the blockchain.
On the blockchain.
Non-fungible tokens that can be used in the ecosystem in which they were purchased. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Or won. So think of when we were kids, we traded baseball cards. There's a anthropology in humans where we like to get our hands on collectibles, either for status or store of value. We could sell it, right? There's an emotion, or when you die, you pass it on to your kids. Well, the future of that phenomenon is going to be blockchain, where it's now not a physical card of a rookie player, it's a digital representation. What blockchain brings is it can't be copied. Because you could copy digital assets otherwise. You can authenticate its origin and who owns it at the time. So you could create an NFT about anything. And as Bitcoin is surging, right, and Bitcoin's going its way, and cryptocurrencies in general are really on the rise, there's this animal or category of cryptocurrency called NFTs, which are collectibles. And Zap Life is, as we speak, creating NFTs associated with hip-hop artists, DJs, rappers. We've shown it to them, and they love it. They get it. They were explaining it to us better than
Elsa, we'll create an NFT of you and the Elsa NFT.
Okay.
Right on. I can't wait to see my playing card. See what my stats are.
Oh, gosh. You know what you could call my coin? You call my coin the nerd coin.
So, because I've, played around with NFTs before, and I don't know. I'm still a little unclear on the Zap platform. So, are you guys creating your own blockchain network, or are you writing this on another one? Like, I know some people do NFTs and they have it reside on
that's a great
Wax, for instance.
Right. So Zap Theory is built on the Ethereum blockchain, and currently Zap Theory tokens aren't NFTs. And they're not fungible. There's something called a hybrid functional token, an HFT. And that's something we developed, and that's unique to us. And much like we were saying earlier when we started this conversation about the properties of these tokens being fostering this community building, fostering all sorts of interaction and collaboration within the community members and token holders. They also are compliant with SEC regulations, and it's been carefully engineered. Whereas most tokens today, if you go to Coinbase, you go to Binance, there's only one reason to possess a token, and that's for appreciation, buy low, sell high.
You can't hold one of those tokens today and earn sort of a dividend or a payment. There's very few where you have voice and governance. The HFT, you could, of course, buy low, sell high, and you could also hold it and share in that some profits from the community, right? Back to the question about NFTs, for the most part, any NFT on the planet is on Ethereum. It's from an ERC 721 or an ERC 1155. Most tokens out there are from Ethereum in the form of an ERC 20. So Zap Theory rides on Ethereum. And if you want to tokenize a person, a business, or a passion and create a tokenized community, their ERC-20s with this special smart contracts on top of it, as Gil articulated, to bring all of those experiences and use cases and financial gain that you cannot experience with other coins or tokens today. Zap is also bringing, at the Zap theory level for communities, and Zap Life in particular for Nightclub 2.0, NFTs, which also use Ethereum technology. Again, we bring some special mustard on that pretzel, some special English on that fastball to have enable someone who possesses these NFTs from Zap to undergo experiences that you can't undergo by possessing NFTs that you get elsewhere.
And just to tie the bow around this, when one does tokenize on the Zap Theory platform, the platform creates 100 million tokens of that community. So every community that is created and tokenize on our platform, Zap Theory, they'll automatically create 100 million tokens. And again, as Mark articulated, those are HFT. The token class is an HFT. It's not a traditional fungible token. It's not a traditional non-fungible token.
Based on the ERC-20 with that special
which
sauce
itself
that
is
we
on
bring.
the Ethereum blockchain.
Okay, so, and this takes me to another question about your platform, for instance. When I look at your HFT, on your website here where we were just reviewing, and I'll pull this up, and I kind of want you guys to walk us through it a little bit, even though, most of the viewers won't ever see this, but it helps me sort of navigate it. On your site, you have, discover what you call the womb, which is where you've got these different, what to me look like, I would equate them to like crowdfunding sort of things. It's like a crowdfunding platform, like a WeFunder or something. And you look at a project and say, oh, I want a piece of that. So is that where someone's going to so I see Quarantine Studios. So they have tokenized their recording studio production company and it rides on your Zap platform or Zap token.
100%. So a womb, that's the name we chose for a tokenized community. So each community that forms on our infrastructure as a tokenized community, each with its own supply of 100 million tokens native to that community, is called a womb. And we chose that because the words we use create the house we live in. And in blockchain, the fashionable term for a tokenized community is an ecosystem. This tokenized community over here is the Cardano ecosystem. This tokenized community over here would be the Quarantine Studios ecosystem. The problem with the word ecosystem is, if you study biology, ecosystems have great things. They have birth and nourishment and life. They also have predators and prey and a lot of sinister behavior. Well, we don't want that. A womb, last I checked, unless your mom's a giant screw up, a womb is a place of love and growth and nurturing and warmth and just beautiful things. So you come and create a womb, a tokenized community. Quarantine Studios is a great example. Jim Jones, prominent hip hop artist. You ask kids today, like, oh, I love Jim Jones. So he came to the Zap Theory platform. He said, I get it, I love it, and he created 100 million Quarantine Studio tokens that represent that are associated with the Quarantine Studios womb. So why do you want a Quarantine Studios token? What's the point? Well, there's three reasons at least. One is, if I possess a Quarantine Studios token, not only might it go up in value and I could sell it for a gain, that's old news for blockchain, I can hold it, and every month Quarantine Studios is going to take some of its profits and share some of those profits with the actual token holders. I can make sort of a dividend every month. Number two is, I cannot just be a fly on the wall watching what Quarantine Studios is doing every day and recording and meeting the artists. Without a token, I don't have that access. But I can even make suggestions. I could say, listen, for your next song, think about this. Or I could structure a vote or a town hall with all the other Quarantine Studios token holders around the planet in a live stream, let's say, and say, hey guys, we should have a party, or we should have a different logo, whatever it could be. If I bring great ideas, I feel that I have an efficacy that I don't feel when I go vote for either Trump or Joe Biden. An efficacy that I don't feel when I go on Facebook and I try to share my perspective to a community. Here, folks are listening. And I also connect with the other token holders. We talk about anything from the new songs in quarantine to music in general. So if that's my incentive to have a token, the economic gain, the financial gain, the governance and the political voice and the efficacy of sort of having a voice in the future direction of the actual studio, and Jim Jones will perhaps listen to my ideas, how do I get a token? Well, I could buy one. I can earn one. Let's say Quarantine Studios needs graphic design or some sound engineering or just some great ideas. They can pay me, or other token holders in Quarantine Studios could pay me directly for my services to them, and I earn Quarantine Studios tokens instead of dollars. And I could also win them. Jim Jones might put up a contest once a week or once a month or once a day saying who has the best idea, whoever can come and win this contest as emblematic through their contribution to the community with actions or ideas, I can win tokens. So I can buy them, I can earn them, I can win them. And why do I want to hold them? I get this payment every month. I can vote on things. I can structure my own vote. I could always sell them. And any of those financial moves are compliant with SEC guidelines. So it's not going to be classified as a security where you got to list and disclose and pay all these fees. It's a revolution.
I think I get it. I mean, your whole thing is very hybrid, in my opinion. I almost feel like it's a combination possibilities of social media platform / exchange. Several things. It's just as a guess of what I'm looking at. But at the risk of going too deep here, you have these categories of entertainment. Like Jim Jones is probably in the entertainment category as far as a womb. But I'm going to ask, what in the world is the personhood category?
That's Kim Kardashian, right? So if you go and look at Facebook or Instagram, a lot of what you see that's instantiated as a person. Well, what if you don't create a website for Kim Kardashian or a Facebook page or YouTube channel or Instagram page, but rather a tokenized community, a womb? Well, first of all, Kimmy has a revenue stream that she can't have, right? She's selling tokens, just like Jim Jones with Quarantine. This is sort of your crowdfunder aspect of it. So there's a revenue stream for Kim. Folks who go to her Instagram or YouTube channel or Facebook page, they're on the comment. They're saying what they're saying. But here, if they say things or proffer ideas that make her or her community better, they get a reward of tokens.
Is that because Kim decides it, or it's a smart contract built in that says here you...
There's three possibilities. Kim can create sort of an autocracy where it's up to her, sort of like a monarchy, right? Or she could say, I'm going to step back and let my token holding community make these decisions, and they do it by vote. So that's more of a democracy. And then the 3.0 is it's not Kim, it's not the token holders, it's not even a human, it's a piece of software called a smart contract. And that has algorithms that are making assessments minute by minute of how much folks are contributing in terms of ideas or actions. And if it's a terrific measurable contribution, a reward gets dispensed to the contributor of the idea or the action. What you've just defined is something called a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, which in blockchain is still only an idea, but that's where you got to start. And we would basically, if Kim Kardashian wants, she could turn her womb, her tokenized community, into a DAO. And it's the future direction of the community, as well as whether and how rewards are given to folks for their contributions, are disintermediated. There's no longer people. It's smart contracts and software that make those powerful choices.
And just to add to that and expound on something Mark was talking about earlier with Quarantine Studios and Jim Jones. So Jim Jones is going to be creating NFTs. He's going to be selling them, digital memorabilia,
yes,
digital collectibles. Yeah. And not only that, he's going to have his own channel on Zap Life, where Quarantine Studios will live stream its studio sessions. And only certain token holders will have the privilege of coming in and viewing live sessions. And, he'll set the criteria on the threshold of how you get that privilege, whether it's purchasing a certain amount of tokens, whether it's winning a prize, a reward for a contest. But these are ways that he's going to integrate and incorporate the physical experience with the virtual experience.
And that's why we say it's a new social anthropology. Jim Jones was going to launch Quarantine Studios anyway, and that's in response to COVID, which is it's very cumbersome now for folks to get together in a studio and record. He said, I'm going to make it virtual. And we said to him, well, why don't you tokenize it? And he said, what does that mean? And we said a few things, and just a couple of minutes later, he was explaining it to us better than we could explain it to him. From the financial gain for a token holder to the governance and the voice you have to, as Gil said, the access you have that's exclusive to the NFTs that you could earn or win as collectibles or buy as collectibles. He got it. And so what he did was he created an NFT. It sold in like a day. He tokenized Quarantine Studios. There's 100 million of those. Those are HFTs. All of this rides on Ethereum. And this is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of it. Because what we feel is the only use case in blockchain in its 11-year, 12-year history, the only reason to possess a token or a coin up to now, whether it's Bitcoin or any of the other 4,000, 7,000 coins, is speculation. Buy low, sell high. That's about the only thing you can do with a token or a coin up to now. There's a few governance tokens that have come out where you have a token and you can vote on things. Pretty good. Is there a token that exists where if you have it, not only can you vote, but you could structure your own vote? You could attend a town hall or structure your own town hall. You could hold it and passively earn, sort of a payment every month or every quarter from the profits of the community. The only place where that could happen is on the Zap Theory platform. And we can't imagine this instantiation or version of Zap Theory, everything we're diving into, we did go a little deep. It's still only Jeff Bezos selling books on the internet. If you come visit us in 5 years, there'll probably be a lot more. Now, where will those great ideas come from? The community, right? They're going to bring us great ideas and say, you should add a sunroof to this car. Jeff Bezos wanted to sell books on the internet. Now he's going to Mars. So blockchain, it's not us, it's blockchain. And there's no genius here from us. It's coming from the folks who are going to come and adopt these platforms. Like Jim Jones himself or one of his token holders can say, hey, I want to be able to do X. And we're like, we never thought of that. We're glad you did. First of all, here's a reward of tokens for that idea. Second of all, we're going to go to our engineers and we're going to add that feature. And I would say that our engineers, NJ, Nitin, they are certainly top caliber engineers. They're actually artists and geniuses and musicians with the way that they go and work with the design and implementation of these wonderful software, this terrific software and these terrific tokens.
And I just want to make one additional point in case anybody from the SEC is listening. We keep referring to our HFTs as compliant. And what does that mean? And why do we make that bold statement? Whereas most tokens are likely securities or have properties of securities. So, and Mark will keep me honest. He's the compliance expert here with the legal mind. But a security and the SEC, when the SEC judges if an asset is a security, it goes by a Supreme Court decision, the Howey test, which goes back about 80 years. And the Howey test has 4 elements that have to be satisfied for an asset to be a security. So you have to be contributing money, element 1, into a community, element 2, with the expectation of profit, element 3. So check those boxes. If we just stopped there, then our tokens probably don't pass the Howey test. But
they would be
classified as security. But the 4th element of the Howey test is that it has to be through the efforts of others. In other words,
if you're making a financial gain, you're sitting on a lawn chair and others in the community are devoting efforts that gives you your financial gain. If that's happening, then it's a security.
Then it's a security. And as we've talked about much throughout this conversation, our tokens, our HFTs, the HFTs from the Zap Theory platform, what we haven't mentioned is they are locked. You cannot receive a financial gain. You cannot sell those tokens.
It's software, right?
Until and unless you've done and you've performed a certain number of use cases, like we've talked about, whether it's structured a vote or structured a town hall or structured or participated in a contest,
Contributed an idea, proffered an idea. All these ways of contributing to the community have to be, you don't have to do all of them, but you have to do a certain number of them to unlock those tokens and start and be eligible to have that financial reward or abundance of either receiving dividend. You cannot sell your token, and you cannot enjoy financial gain from your token in payments every month until it's unlocked. How do you unlock it? You've got to roll up your sleeves and devote efforts to the community. If you don't, you do have the token. You might even be able to, you can vote on things, you can participate, you have access, but you can't enjoy that financial gain. You cannot sell it because it's software, it's programmed. Once it's sellable or otherwise stays in your possession, you can earn dividends. Well, then you're getting that financial gain, but it's because you made that contribution.
A meaningful effort, meaningful contribution to the community. And we designed it primarily not to satisfy the Howey test, but primarily, as we've been talking throughout this conversation, to foster that community, to foster an environment, create an environment.
To create community 2.0, right? To where communities up to now in human history go something like we've had tribes, city-states, empires, feudal manors, kingdoms, republics, Facebook pages, right? We need a better construct of community where folks are bringing their best self. And remember, Zap Theory's mission is anyone who experiences our platform gets introduced to their best self, and they self-actualize, and they glimpse and live toward their greatest way of being. So here's this incentive to bring your best genius and ideas, your greatest actions and efforts, and if you do that, the tokens you possess will unlock and activate, and you can enjoy financial gain.
So the token doesn't go through a state change, it just becomes available?
Well, it sits in your wallet from day one. So whether you bought it, you earned it, or you won it, it's sitting in your wallet and it's yours. If you want to sell it and make a financial gain, it will be blocked from you. You will not be able to do that because it's a piece of software that's programmed to be locked. If there is a payment that month from the community, let's say that they're making a lot of money, Jim Jones Quarantine Studio or Toyota or Kim Kardashian or Zap Life, you're not going to participate in that distribution of profit. So the minute that you've done enough contribution, ideas, voting, whatever it is, there's a smart contract that's measuring at all times your performance to the community. And the minute it hits a certain threshold, and it's a very transparent threshold, something like 32 use cases, boom, it'll unlock, and now you can sell it. You don't have to go to Binance. You don't have to go to Uniswap. You could do it right on our platform. You could sell it, or you could hold it, and next month when there's a share of profits, you'll participate in those. And it comes straight into your wallet as ETH. So the profits don't show up in your bank account because we're not just banking the unbanked, we're unbanking the banked, right? You hold wallets and you possess digital assets on the blockchain. Now you don't need a bank account. You don't need wire transfers and Visa and direct deposit. So you're going to get ETH every month that's coming from the profits that the company made. Even if the company made the profits in dollars, they convert it to ETH and they drop that ETH into the wallet to the token holders who have unlocked their tokens by devoting these efforts.
So it really is incentivized social interaction.
Yes, sir. And the inspiration for that is Satoshi Nakamoto and Bitcoin, because every 10 minutes, new Bitcoin are created. In the first 4 years, every 10 minutes, 50 new Bitcoin were created. In the next 4 years, from something like 2012 to 2016, every 10 minutes, 25 new Bitcoin were created that never existed before. And in the next 4 years, from 2016 to 2020, 12.5 new Bitcoin were created every 10 minutes. Now, 6.25 Bitcoin are created every 10 minutes that are brand new. And that'll go for another 4 years. Like clockwork, every 4 years it drops by half. But where do those Bitcoin go? When a brand new Bitcoin is created that it didn't exist before, every 10 minutes, who's the first party to possess it? A miner. Why? It's a reward. What did the miner do to earn this reward? The miner performed meaningful actions this is no joke what the miner does, to secure the network and update the blockchain and make sure that it's accurate and trustworthy and verifiable. So that's something called the Cantillon effect, which it's named after a French-Irish philosopher from the 18th century. And the Cantillon effect is a concept in economics that asks a fundamental question that most of us go our whole lives never asking, which is, if you look at a currency supply, think of the dollar, think of Bitcoin. There's a supply of this currency. As new money is printed, new dollars get printed or new Bitcoin get created, where does brand new money go first? Who is the first party to possess the next dollar that gets created or the next Bitcoin that gets created? Well, with dollars...
Jamie Dimon.
Yes!
Exactly.
And no good. 2008, right? I mean, there's lots of ways to improve the construct that we have, the Cantillon effect we have. So Satoshi said, I'll try. He said, I'll create a global, decentralized, permissionless, neutral, transparent construct that is both a currency and a transaction system with a transparent supply that is predictable and ultimately finite. It's a transaction system and a currency at the same time. And the parties that contribute to the security and performance of this system get a reward. What's the reward? The actual native digital asset, the native currency to the system. What's it worth? At inception, a Bitcoin was worth 1/16 of a penny. What's it worth today? $13,000. What's it going to be worth in a few years? Maybe $10 million. Maybe. Well, we were studying Satoshi. Satoshi might be a woman, might be a group of people, might be an alien. And we said, look at that Cantillon effect. How can we create a money supply such that as the supply of money that's sort of in reserve gets introduced into circulating supply, it lands into the possession of somebody who made the community better. The Howey test, right? I mean, the Howey test, we weren't even thinking of the Howey test. We said we want to uplift and elevate communities where folks bring their best self, best ideas, best action, whether it's Kim Kardashian and what shoes she should wear that night, or it's Dairy Queen and what ice cream they should serve next year that's more nutritious, or it's surfing and what's the best way to wax your surfboard. Well, if you bring a great idea, or you introduce a new surf wax, or you bring some kind of great action, just like a miner does in Bitcoin, you're not doing what Jamie Dimon does, which is a whole lot of nothing. I participated in the Bank One outsourcing. My law firm and I, we represented them back in 1998. Jamie Dimon was running Bank One back then. And I kept asking myself, what the hell? Like, what do banks do today? And Bitcoin does it a whole lot better. So the Cantillon effect is the name of the game, is to think of a currency supply such that the new currency introduced into circulation is dropped into the hands of the folks who are devoting the best efforts and making the greatest contribution of efforts and ideas to the community to uplift the community so it makes more money, or it has a greater footprint on the planet, to stamp possibility with the stamp of being, as Heidegger would say.
Does that answer your question, Bill?
Yeah.
No, I'm laughing because there's so many elements to it. I understand how initially it can be a little confusing, but once you start spending time in this space, you really just start to see how mind-blowing this is and how this is going to be, in my opinion, applied to all different industries, ways of life, etc. It's really incredible.
Well, thought leaders who study Bitcoin will come and say, in all honesty, whether they're PhDs in economics or they're software engineers or they're business folks, they'll say, look, every time I study Bitcoin, I thought I understood it, and now I understand it in a whole new way, a radically new way. Because Bitcoin, in particular, blockchain in general, is a revolution with a capital R. It's going to be bigger than the Iron Age, the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, the Internet put together. It's a revolution in 3 dimensions simultaneously. It's a technology revolution. There's never been software code like Bitcoin in human history. It's a lot like when they split the atom, or they invented the wheel or the printing press. It's just a mind-bending software code. It is also a revolution in economics, and we went deep on that with Cantillon effect and limited supply, and it's verifiable and it's transparent. It's also a revolution in governance and political theory, So think of Thomas Jefferson, right? And John Locke and Thomas Hobbes and Rousseau. It's a revolution in social anthropology. That's Bitcoin. So blockchain in general tries to take Bitcoin to the next level. I like to analogize Satoshi to the Wright brothers. They got us in the air. But along came Howard Hughes and NASA 66 years after the Wright brothers were walking on the moon. Jeff Bezos is selling books on the internet. Now he's going to Mars. So there's terrific ideas coming into blockchain to build on Satoshi's foundation. And so every time we come at it, whether we're studying Bitcoin or we're adding refinements to Zap theory, I tell you, I've never had more fun. It's never been a more exciting and challenging and rewarding intellectual experience and intellectual exercise. And we're dancing to the music.
And that's why I think what Ovis is doing is also so remarkable, because they're taking this technology and they're dialing it up in a way that's never really been done, using the TCR, the Tokenized Curated Registry, to authenticate, validate, and identify real news from fake news, and to have a decentralized way of curating news. And it's just never been done before. And it's such a brilliant concept. And it's going to revolutionize not just media and journalism, but that technology can revolutionize any type of curated list.
100%.
And it's just something that pre-blockchain you couldn't do.
Mark Twain makes the observation that if I don't read the newspaper, I'm uninformed. If I read the newspaper, I'm misinformed. And this has been a problem since ancient Egypt and ancient Babylonia. You can't trust what's in the paper. Well, Journalism 2.0, brought by Ovis, is a newspaper where any news on there is accurate, trustworthy, verifiable. Why? Because think of that Cantillon effect. Instead of a Bitcoin going to a miner as a reward for securing the network, an Ovis token goes to a judge, a curator, a fact checker for curating the news and deeming it to be accurate, trustworthy, verifiable. You just earned a token for doing that. And
because it's distributed around the globe, you can't compromise. You can't. It's not like a single curator, a single fact checker. There's got to be consensus among fact checkers around the globe.
Just like in Bitcoin, that's the same way that they come to consensus around the planet that a transaction is valid and should go on the ledger immutably. So Ovis is this moment of genius in communications itself and in storytelling itself, where for the first time in human history, you have accurate, trustworthy, verifiable content, and it's using blockchain technology, the very same technology and incentives and rewards as Bitcoin, to give us a list of events in the past that we can all agree upon together happened that way. And as Gil alluded, there's other lists that need to be curated and rendered accurate, trustworthy, verifiable. Think of admissions offices in college, where whether it's Yale or USC, you had problems with folks being admitted to a university because they were lying on their applications. When you look at Yelp and you're trying to figure out which restaurant to go to, how can you trust that information? If these lists, a registry is nothing but a list. If you put these registries and these lists on the blockchain, then that's doing what Ovis does. A community of folks around the planet, just like Bitcoin nodes, are looking at proposed information and saying, this goes on the list, this is accurate, or it doesn't. And if they do their job, they get a reward of tokens.
Right, because currently, just so people understand the analogy with Yelp, right now Yelp can be totally manipulated. You know, the business owner can have a bunch of friends go on and leave 5-star reviews and get their friends to do the same thing, and so on and so on and so on.
Jump up on the list.
Yeah, and you can pay. You can even pay them. Yeah. Pay Yelp and say.
That's how they make their money. That's part of their business models, to get paid to manipulate the list.
Exactly.
That's supposed to be an accurate, verifiable list.
Whoever puts Yelp on the blockchain is going to put Yelp out of business. Whoever puts Facebook on the blockchain is going to put Facebook out of business. Whoever puts Amazon on the blockchain, right? So the Amazon disrupted Sears, right? The Sears catalog. Sears was, created during the Great Depression, rose to be one of the top performing companies in economic history. Jeff Bezos puts them out of business with a technology called the internet. Well, either Jeff Bezos is going to tokenize and put Amazon on the blockchain, or someone else will. Either way, Amazon as we know it is disrupted. Yelp as we know it is disrupted. Uber on the blockchain Uber did to taxis Uber on the blockchain is going to do to Uber what Uber did to taxis. So it is a revolution, and it's difficult to imagine, understand, conceive, and fathom how life is going to be 10 years from now. One thing for sure, it's going to be unrecognizably different. We already went through that with the internet. Just about every aspect of life, including this conversation, is radically different than 1973 or 1993 because of the internet. And to go back in time and try to explain to somebody in 1973 Uber or Facebook or Zoom, that they're just not going to get it, because it's a different vocabulary capturing different concepts that humans have never experienced before in human history. Bitcoin certainly does that for money. There's a way that humans are experiencing money by possessing Bitcoin that's never happened in human history. And blockchain is going to do that for all kinds of other sectors. Show me a money in human history where I have some of the currency and I can instantly know how much of that money used to exist, how much exists now, and how much ever will exist, down to the penny. That's never been the case. You could do that with Bitcoin. You don't even have to have Bitcoin. You can go on your phone and see how many Bitcoin existed 10 years ago, 10 minutes ago, how many exist now, and how many will exist 10 minutes from now or 100 years from now. That's just one way in which Bitcoin is a revolution. Another way,
it's a database. It's a ledger. So every one of these transactions is automatically, immutably kept in this ledger.
Show me a ledger, a financial ledger in human history, Visa, Jamie Dimon, a bank, where you can look at that ledger and it cannot be changed, and it's agreed by the community that those are exactly the transactions that happened. Bitcoin's never been hacked in its 10-year history, 11-year, 12-year history. Never been hacked. You can't say that about the Department of the Defense or the FBI. In this conversation, we've all been hacked. Our bank accounts have been hacked since this conversation started. Bitcoin is also the first time in human history that two parties can exchange wealth using an asset without an intermediate middle party, such as a bank to print the money, or a government to print the money, or a bank to store the money, keep a ledger. It's just Alice and Bob exchanging wealth using an asset with no middle party. This is mind-bending. This is, as Raoul Paul says, who's a highly regarded thought leader in economics and invested 30 years. He's been through the 2008 crisis, the Asian financial crisis, the 2001 bubble. He says that everything that we understand about economics is about to change radically because of Bitcoin. So that's Bitcoin with finance and currency and banks and money. Well, blockchain is going to do that to journalism. Ovis is doing it. To live streaming and music, that's Zap Life and that's Quarantine Studios. To movie making, to Uber, to Amazon. Anything that we experience is probably eligible for tokenization, whether it's a passion like surfing or fishing, whether it's a personality like Kim Kardashian, or it's a business like Dairy Queen or Toyota.
So, Bill, any other questions? I told you, I really feel like Gil and Mark, first of all, you spent an enormous amount of time explaining this for people who are going to listen. And I really feel they'll be better off when they do hear what you have to say and how you break it down and how we are going to envision our financial futures and just our future in general from this point forward. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate that Ovis, our tokenized news organization, is going to be your official TCR news site. And I just feel really honored that we are taking this journey with you guys. So, again, full disclosure for everybody, we are a partner with Zap Theory, and we look forward to working together for many years to come. But it's going to be mind-blowing for even those of us who are learning about this now and being part of this, because we're still considered early, I think, in this journey. I think it's going to blow our minds, even in just 5 years, what we're going to see.
I mean, first of all, we're all learning. Second of all, to your point, we're in the dial-up phase of blockchain. It's just at its infancy. Who knows what, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. And finally, the privilege is really on us to be able to collaborate with you and Linton and the whole Ovis team. It's been amazing. We're humbled and honored to be able to work with you guys and really be able to contribute to this mission that you're on to create accurate, trustworthy, verifiable news. And it's something that the world needs. And, we're just fortunate that we've been able to, play a small role.
Likewise, we feel like the small role, but thank you guys so much. And thank you for spending this much time to explain to everybody listening what this is all about.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed the conversation.
All right, you guys, take care, and we will check in. By the way, do you want to tell people what's going on with the launch before we go so they know where to go on Friday and Saturday night?
Go to your iPhone, go to your Android, download the Zap Life app at the App Store, at the Google Play Store. If you want to find a little bit more information on Zap Life, you go to zaplife.social. That's their website.
Buy a token.
Buy a token.
Earn a token. Win a token.
The event Halloween Festival starts this weekend on Friday evening, and there'll be events throughout the weekend.
I think DJ Envy, Jim Jones, they're going to be performing.
There's going to be a all-women DJ list, I think Saturday or Sunday, where it's all women DJs, which will be really cool.
I actually did see that. That one totally caught my eye. I can't wait to see that one because I'm just checking the date on that one. But I thought it was Saturday night, but
it's probably Saturday night.
And I'm telling you, put products in your hair, put on like
costume contest.
Halloween is not canceled. Put on a costume.
Do it up like we're going to the club.
You will. I promise you, because this happened to me. You will dance, and you will dance in a way that is glorious.
Well, I'm downloading the app. I'm downloading it now so I can watch Elsa dance.
Okay. Awesome. I don't. No, people will pay you to not watch me dance.
We're gonna have a twerking contest, so you guys can twerk.
There's a lot of philosophy behind all of these, and Nietzsche says life without music would be a mistake. He also says, let us count each day on which we didn't dance as a day wasted. And I think that 2020, we forgot the music's playing. Like, you can dance. And I'm telling you, you go to this app, you go on one of these live streams this weekend during the launch. The Halloween's not canceled. Go to one of the costume parties, go to one of the clubs. You will find yourself dancing, laughing, having a great time, possibly in a better way than you used to at the club physically. But certainly in 2020 with COVID, with the holidays coming, Christmas is not canceled. We're going to save Christmas with the live streams.
The likelihood of getting roofied goes way down.
Yeah, way down. You don't have to watch your drink. But yes, I'm on the live stream. We can see this, but during the podcast, we won't. I've got the app up on my phone, and this is the all-female.
There's also a studio called Sound Museum that for any fledgling musician out there that's looking for to get signed up, a shot, they're giving away a contest. So there's just going to be a lot of fun activities, fun contests, and great music. Great DJs, and
if you play music, if you are a DJ, you come to Zap Life. You could stream your own music. Forget about Instagram, because on Zap Life you're going to make a lot of money, and you're going to give your audience a terrific experience, a deep connection with you, better audio, better video, a way for them to make money. And there's terrific use cases that you just can't experience right now with your phone or in real life. It's going to be a great time.
The all-female DJ lineup, by the way, is Friday and Saturday on here. Of course, you get into the party free, but if you want VIP status, again, this is how we talk about engagement. There's a certain amount of coins you have to spend to get into the VIP section.
Right. And just to clarify, all the in-app purchases it's a virtual currency. Those are not cryptocurrency. Those are virtual currency on the in-app and goes through the Apple App Store or through Google. So those are just like any other game, any other app that has virtual currency. The cryptocurrency is the other part that sits on the Zap theory.
The blockchain currency underneath Zap Life is if you want to make money if you want to share in Zap Life's profits, if you have a voice and you want to contribute to the future direction of live streaming and Zap Life and where should we go with worship or education, you must have a token. And if you bring great ideas and efforts, you're going to get even more tokens. Every time you have a token, of course, you could sell it for gain, but you should probably hold it because Zap Life's going to make terrific profits right away. And we share that with anyone who has a token. I think that it's going to be a fantastic new chapter. We're going to have a lot of fun. And that's the main event, is to have fun and to look at 2020 as an opportunity to create our best self and to dance and to listen to that music and to be the music.
Right on.
Again, guys, thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to seeing you guys virtually.
See you on the dance floor.
This weekend.
Well, you know what?
Again so much.
You could structure your own VIP and maybe you'll let us in. We'll pay you.
Of course, you guys have VIP access forever. So.
Nice.
Absolutely. All right, you guys. Thanks again. Everybody check out Zap Theory and check out our party on Zap Life this weekend, Friday and Saturday. Come join the party.
The revolution will be tokenized.
That's right. Thanks, guys. It is always fun talking with them. I could listen to them all day. They're great. I just love the notion that the revolution will be tokenized. It's hard for some to wrap their minds around this whole concept, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, so you can leave us a review so we can get more and more people to listen, of course. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, you name it. Even Amazon's new podcast platform, so you can go ahead and ask Alexa for us. If you have an idea for a show, you can email us at info@adventuresincrypto.tv, or you can always find me on Twitter at Elsa Ramon on air. Thank you again, Multo Marketing and Productions, for sponsoring and producing our show. Their team is located all around the world, literally, but you can find them at multomarketing.com. That's MOLTO marketing.com. And if you or someone you know is in the market for a home, get the B-Mortgage app on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Calculate your home buying power completely anonymously. This is for U.S. residents only at this time, by the way. Just search BEE Mortgage. I'm Elsa. Thanks for coming along. This is a live Q&A discussion about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, tokens, projects, investments, and technology. All discussions are strictly the opinions of each speaker. Statements made by guests are not necessarily the opinion of the host and producers. Investments in Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, tokens, and even stocks are speculative and risky. The information contained herein is for informational purposes only. We are not financial advisors nor registered investment advisors, and all of our content is intended for general information purposes. You must do your own due diligence before investing in anything, especially anything related to cryptocurrencies and tokens. Investments always carry risk. Never risk more of anything than you're willing to lose.
So what about crypto?